their prioritization, I wouldn't blame it at all, just because, again, we said C9 have been only mostly successful with that Fortress pick. The Rhyme comes through again. I really don't like giving that pick over to anyone, and especially not Hammers, just because Status at that point is able to play very aggressive. We saw last game he picked up so many kills in the early game.
And now, of course, Blackfeather being available. There's Hammers banning away the Fortress. So, yeah, they definitely feel like this Fortress is a key pick for Cloud9. So, and like Cesaro said, I don't blame them. They won a game when they took the Fortress away. They lost when Cloud9 had the Fortress. Cloud9 won with Fortress twice yesterday as well. So, it's definitely a pick that they are really liking as a team. And so Hammers recognizing that and taking it off the board.
C9 will probably have to ban the Blackfeather here, otherwise Hammers would get it with Rhyme. That would be very difficult for especially Old School to go up against as the carry, going up against the Blackfeather who's able to get on top of you and duel you 1v1 during the team fights very easily. But instead they go for the Lyra ban. Very interesting prioritization.
Yeah, the only idea I can think of here for Cloud9 is that they're gonna let Hammers take this Blackfeather and then maybe take a Rona for themselves and try and do what we just saw Rogue do against Tribe. But that is very, very risky decisions to make. Go with a Rhyme already on this other side. You're not going to be able to, there's a lot more lockdown with a Rhyme available. They can root you and then just get out of the red mist. They can drop a Valkyrie on your head and keep that Rona from being able to do the damage.
I would be surprised if Cloud9 went for any other laner than the Vox, because Vox works really well against both Blackfeather and Rhyme, and it's one of Old School's best heroes, one of the only left Old School comfort heroes, honestly. So C9 taking their time perhaps for the jungle pick instead of the lane, since it's most likely going to be the Vox.
What do you think of the idea of perhaps an Adagio coming out as well? Just because of the fact that they're going to be in melee, so the Verse of Judgment could have some serious effect if they're able to stay alive. That's a big if, but Old School has played that a ton historically. They have the Krull for that big brawling in team fight. We could just end up seeing this full massive melee combo.
It could be Rona, like you said. Yeah, it could be another Rona, as we saw from Rogue, to go for a massive 3v3 melee heroes, going for that a crazy brawling type of team fights. You mentioned the Adagio. It's possible that we see it, but it's Vox, like I said, just because of how well he's able to dance around the abilities and kite. A Lance comes through too, so the Vox being able to use his dash on his A ability to dance around the Impales, dance around the Valkyries, that's going to be very important.
Honestly, with the amount of melee heroes we've been seeing picked up across the course today, I'm really surprised we haven't seen more Churnwalker. It feels like the perfect hero to pick into a brawl like that. The amount of sustain you get, and also just sharing that cleave damage on everyone, you can dish out a lot.
What I'm really hoping to see here is a CP Vox. It's against triple melee, and you have a Krull with you on the other hand, who's going to be going open power. It's most likely not going to happen though, just because at that point Blackfeather can 1v1 you easily.
Yeah, he certainly can. Let's take a look at the compositions then. Who's going to be the ones being aggressive here? I've got to say, Blackfeather and Rhyme sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, definitely the Rhyme is going to be wanting to go aggressive early on, especially with the Lance. That is so devastating early game. So expect to see them trying to be very aggressive on the side of Hammers.
All right, it's time to jump into game number 3 of this semi-final and find out who is going on into our grand finals later today. Hashtag Vainglory 8. Let us know who you are supporting. It's time to pass it once again over to our casters and get on into this game.
Thank you very much. Once again, game number 3 underway. Cloud9 versus Hammers, 1 apiece. Who will be facing Rogue later on, Source? We'll have to wait and find out.
I don't know. This feels like this is a Hammers victory in the waiting. Cloud9 are a great team. Hopefully they don't have as much of a difficult start as they did last time, but this is Rhyme and Blackfeather. Just how do you deal with just so much pressure, damage, value? You've seen how devastating these two heroes can be. And I think a lot of this is going to be on Old School and how well he plays in these mid to late game team fights. His ability to kite and stay away from the Blackfeather is going to be crucial, and it's a very difficult task to ask of him.
Hammers already going a little bit more defensive, tried to take their fronts first as Cloud9 were fairly aggressive in the way that they were pathing, although walking back towards the lane now. Chicken taking a little bit of hurt on the way, but was able to save the majority of his jungle, no problem.
Yeah, they also do this time have I Love Joseph on the roll, so he's got a hero who's good in the early game, good in the mid game, good in the late game. He doesn't, his damage isn't really his factor as much as his ability to clear quickly and then show up to team fights. So he'll be safe within the jungle. Once he has that from Hell's Heart, we'll see whether or not they capitalize on that initial level spike and find value off of that kill, which was kind of a problem that they ran into before. From Hell's Heart, it's a little bit more difficult to block than the Yummy Catnip Frenzy. It's got more value. You can just kind of throw it out, and it, you know, may or may not hit, but it doesn't necessarily commit you to the team fight entirely as the Koshka did. So this time around, maybe they'll be able to find that early opportunity that they couldn't in the last game.
Yeah, no EU treants to root you up and then give over first blood this time. I'm sure Joseph is going to be a little bit more happy with that in that case. But let's look at the side of Hammers right now. They've got what's arguably some of the two strongest picks right now in the Blackfeather and Rhyme. Rhyme is just so hotly contested, and with picking this one up with someone like a Lance, that's an easy Valkyrie in the making.
Yeah, anything that gets CC'd once is going to be CC'd twice, is going to be CC'd thrice. Anybody caught isn't going anywhere, so it's going to be on Old School, one, to be rarely. Joseph might be able to sit there and take some of that damage and kind of survive that. He can kind of front line out some of those early engagements, but it's gonna be a lot on how well the Crucible comes out. Maybe we see the Crucible go into Old School like we did in the previous series. That's gonna be a Treant going over to Gabe Vizzle, and Cloud9 will secure that one.
They secure it, they get it on their captain, get that fountain online much quicker than Chicken will be able to. Only slightly though, only about 300 gold separates the captains right now in their back pockets, but most of those are just actually in a setup boost. Gabe Vizzle going fairly low at the current time. Status did walk his way up to the lane as well. Now, what is Starting going to do here? He's in a deficit against Old School, at least in the range category. Not so much on the CS right now. It's just ahead ever so slightly after Old School does manage to clear this wave out on this box. But this wait for it as well is going to be fairly critical to their team fight. Gabe Vizzle is going to lay down the gauntlet, or at least in the perfect world, and then you're going to get a big wait for it on the side onto three members of Hammers. Then they've got no abilities to work with, and then Joseph walks in there, does what Kroll does best. Someone target and then wailed on them.
Ooh, a lot of damage on Starting All Over. He is willing to stand there and fight with Old School, and Old School's not in serious trouble.
Going very low. Yeah, Impale does land. Chicken finds the Githian wall as well, and that'll actually result in first blood going over to Hammers. Starting All Over, starting off strong.
Yeah, it is a difficult time for this Fox into the weapon power.
Joseph's in a lot of trouble as well. Hang on a second, because he might be able to turn this around on status. That smite's going to come through, and that's going to be a big one. Gabe Vizzle comes in with the Vanguard. Didn't want to pursue that any further. But regardless of that, Starting All Over with the kill.
Nope, fight's not over. Starting All Over is going to show up in the middle of the fight.
They continue on a fight. No talking for you, Source. Give me a second here. Starting All Over does find the execute straight onto Joseph. Cloud9 wants little something here for this engagement. Chicken's going to come forward, marching, trying to find Old School. Doesn't quite find the Githian wall to push him towards the wall and get the stun. Hammers already off to a flying start with 2 kills. 3 kills make that. Starting All Over just dives straight onto Old School and picks up a 3-piece.
I don't want to say it, but I feel like you never let Blackfeather through. If you can avoid it, there's just too much potential for any of these great Blackfeather players in North America to just get things rolling. And the pressure on the Old School to get the kill in the lane, to show up and then be able to collapse in and find the additional kill. It's just play after play for Starting All Over right now. He's already got a finished Serpent Mask, is 650 gold, 625 gold now, away from having that breaking point. 2 key components that he needs to get the job done. And I was going to mention that Old School is going to be picking up the Poison Chip. He's already got that. That will find them some value in shutting down Starting All Over. But might not matter because Starting All Over is almost to that 2-item spike at less than 6 minutes into the game.
Scary prospect for Cloud9. They did lose their turret as well. Once again, Hammers coming up fighting, and Cloud9's staff behind them said, you know, this is the time for Cloud9 to show and cement that there's a reason why they are going to Worlds. But right now, Hammers really showing that they could be a Worlds contender as well with the performance they're showing right now.
Yeah, I mean, TSM is out. If they are able to take out Cloud9 and then take out Rogue in the finals, they build themselves on the path to making that a reality. They still need to have good performances for the rest of the season, but it's possible that they could do it if this is the level that Hollywood Hammers can play at. If this is them at their best, or at least this is where they can play up to when they're up against a strong opponent, we could see them upsetting plenty of teams.
They could. Starting all over was very happy to kind of say, we are ready to take on the Titans. We are ready to take on Cloud9 and TSM. These two teams that have been around for so long, their rosters have been solidified for so long as well. I mean, upwards of 3 seasons, I think Tasty said, that teams like TSM and Cloud9 have been together. That's an awfully long time. Like, for a specific team to be together. I mean, for a whole split as well, not making a single change, that's got to say to you, we're happy with this roster. We are happy with how the direction the team's going. Hammer's willing to disrupt that. We are jumping into a brief pause, by the way, obviously you can see on your screen, so we shouldn't be too long getting back into this one. I think the players are just having a couple of connectivity issues with their internet, but it just gives us a little bit more time to discuss how this game's going to play out from now, because Cloud9, they're a turret down source.
And we are already back. That didn't take very long at all.
Hey, there we go. Wonders of technology, my friend.
The wonders of fast internet connections. We live in an amazing age. I was going to bring up, I took a quick look at the standings while we were paused, and I'd forgotten yesterday that Hammers brought down TSM. Now, yes, this was a weakened TSM. They didn't necessarily have Von C. They weren't firing on all pistons, but they bring down TSM and Cloud9 and then managed to win out the finals and then take out Rogue. They basically said top 3. I don't know if those are really your positions in the North American PGA.
Yeah, like taking down TSM, even though they've got, even though they had Lucky Bread, is still no mean feat. Like you said, FlashX was able to win a game on jungle, needless we forget. So a man of many talents, you could say, but still taking games off TSM is quite a scary feat, and maybe should strike fear into the hearts of Cloud9. Hammers now rotating very aggressively in Cloud9's jungle. They are going to start up this Crystal Sentry and should be able to take it without much response. In fact, Cloud9 are just going to get a full recall off here as Joseph, he's got an infusion and he's finally got his breaking point online.
Yeah, better to back up, not take that fight, get what you need to be able to set things up once again. There's no point in going in for that. Old School is still not necessarily there in terms of build, doesn't have that second item, so you need Joseph to have at least one of those online, and they might have found starting all over.
Though Rogue's offensive, defensive does get him away for the moment. And, that's the big thing about the Black Feather. It's going to jump back in straight onto Old School. Impale does land. Gauntlet's going to come out as well, but only stun status. The Valkyrie came out and actually a big stun did land, but actually I think it went a little bit wider. Way through will come through, and that'll be Old School picking up the kill and starting all over already. The main carry is down, but they've still got status to try and chase Old School up. The Winter Spies are good. He does manage to secure the kill, but now Gabe Bizzle and Joseph, he has to deal with them. He's so low, and Joseph easily deals with him. Not many breaking point stacks either, but status was already way too low. Hammers lose 2 in that engagement, and now Cloud9, they're taking back control.
Starting all over got isolated. He went very deep for the play and wasn't able to bring down Old School on his own. Old School then is able to kite out a little bit longer, and that allows Joseph to help bring down status. And Cloud9 found an optimal team fight. They were able to get off a good gauntlet. The From Hell's Heart didn't really connect onto anybody, but they didn't really need it to because it just forced starting all over to have to go deeper into enemy territory to be able to survive. If that had come back and hit him, he dies pretty much instantly because Old School was dishing out fairly significant damage. He's only really got the Poison Shiv, so what he's doing is he's cutting down starting all over's sustain as well as, the power of the fountain coming up from Chicken. Status doesn't have the Eve of Harvest just yet. I expect him to be going into that soon. So Old School is getting fairly good value off of his first initial item purchase, even though he doesn't have the Sorrow Blade or the Breaking Point just yet. And if I'm starting all over, I need to be careful about how far into these team fights I go if Status doesn't land a good Valkyrie. Because they need that to get the initial lockdown on Old School.
He was 3-0 in that initial engagement. Maybe a bit of overconfidence, like you were alluding to. He has got Breaking Point and Serpent's Mask, so he does dish out a ton of damage, but the problem is there isn't much defenses. He's only got a little bit of armor, and he's only got that reflex block for the HP as well. Hammers, however, they are going to be able to secure the gold miner, so that's a 400 payout each. Looking good in the bank for them. Now they just need to translate this into a lead, and now starting all over, he's got more armor. He's picked up that Atlas Pauldron as his third item.
Yes, and the rise of Atlas Pauldron makes me happy because it's such a cool item and interaction is how you have to position. You may not necessarily need to kill the target that you initially dive upon and then pop the Atlas Pauldron onto. If you just cut out their damage, you make them a non-factor. And, you know, we've seen all of these Atlas Pauldrons come through because the CP Mage meta has kind of shifted. These changes to the CP meta have sort of forced us to bring back these CP junglers, which has then resulted in weapon power laners and then the resulting, picking up of all of these Atlas Pauldrons, as Blackfeather is super dangerous, as Vox is still very powerful, as we've seen Rona come into the meta. Starting all over, he was looking for a bit of an engagement. That's a good route on the old school, but no one there to convert. Actually, no, that was onto I Love Joseph.
The wait for it did come out. It did actually hit, starting all over for the time being. The Valkyrie will come through as well. Won't find anybody. There's going to be a beautiful Impale lands onto old school. He's still trying to kite back, getting a load of stacks, but it's not going to matter. Joseph now trying to just cut through the front line that is starting in status, but he is all alone. Githian will finish him off. Hammers find two, and that'll be Gabe Fizzle running for the hills as they march down the lane.
A bit of a slow start, but again, as long as this Valkyrie hits these ranged carries, be it a Kestrel, be it a Vox, does not matter. It sets up status to get the job done, to output the necessary damage, and to lock down that carry so that starting all over can finish off. And just repeatedly, you have to avoid or block that Valkyrie or you're going to lose. And that's part of why we've seen Rhyme so banned. He's safe in the jungle, he outputs great damage, it's consistent, and he's got great amounts of lockdown, and we're seeing him make it through these drafts. And you just have to know, you have to be prepared that everybody's got to be on point with a reflex block.
Gabe Fizzle has got his Crucible, and he needs to just be able to block that Valkyrie. That's all he needs to be able to do. I mean, the Githian walls, when they're fighting out in those open spaces, not so impactful. The Impales much more so, but if that Valkyrie hits old school, he's going to die. There is no if and or buts about it, with starting all over, stacking up on him very, very quickly. Has even gone to a bit of armor penetration as well now. And Hammers, they are still in this commanding lead, but we've seen a Cloud9 come back from worse. We can't count them out just yet.
Yeah, I think that Pierce is going to end up going into Attention Bow. He could go the Bonesaw route, but I feel like he just wants to be able to follow up on the burst that's coming out from status. Because as long as they remove I Love Joseph, or as long as they remove Old School, I Love Joseph can't do all that much. Gauntlet is down. Here comes the second.
Double Gauntlet comes down, starting all over, and status trapped in the smallest portion possible. Valkyrie came out, is only going to stun Gabe Fizzle for the time being. Old School is going to get jumped on in the back line. That healing coming out from starting all over is a little bit too much for him to deal with, even with that mortal wound. They trade 1-for-1, and with Joseph using that from Hell's Heart, he's going to have to do all he must to actually just chase up status now. Chicken is on the run as well. He's only about 1,000 HP, but they should have been able to just bow away from this one. Again, they trade 1-for-1 in this exchange, and neither team really achieving much off the back of it.
Okay, I was wrong. Starting Liver did go with the Bonesaw, so he thinks he's going to be sticking to Old School for extended periods of time, and that Armor Shred is going to get them value over the course of the game. This is also a double weapon power composition for Cloud9, so pretty much just armor being built on the side of Hollywood Hammers, and it means they don't have to optimize into getting that extra shield, which means their builds are a little bit better. That's always something you have to worry about when you pick a single damage type composition. But even when the Valkyrie didn't hit onto Old School, they were still able to get into position and lock him down. The chill winds rooted him up, and they were able to finish him off. So, better showing from Cloud9, but they have to find a way to get starting all over, or to keep starting all over off of Old School.
Old School is starting to stack up in terms of items as well now, but you can tell by his scoreline how much Hammers are focusing. He is 0-5 right now. That Mortal Wound really cutting that healing, but they're going to go in again. That's a nice two-man impale. The Githian wall was not blocked. He actually saved it, and he does manage to find it again. The Valkyrie and the Gauntlet do end up landing, but it's a little bit too late. It's starting all over. Has already found the kill onto Old School in the back line, and now Joseph is going to fall for the double kill. Now Chicken and Gabe Fizzle in the support will combat while his carries just push down the lane.
Even with a poison shift, the breaking point stacks are too much for starting all over, and Chicken is setting up some amazing plays. He's gotten two-man impales repeatedly onto primary targets. He gets Old School. I mean, I wish I could see the actual number of times that he has landed that play into Old School, and now they're just keeping Gabe Fizzle busy. Chicken isn't too worried about him. Ooh. Okay,
Ooh.
missed that impale. I called him the impale god, and then he
That
missed
was
his
a
impale.
cheeky.
And now starting all over, he's being chased out of the enemy jungle. They are going to reconverge onto Gabe Vizzle, so we may see a fight here.
Yeah, Joseph's going to come in as well. The wait for it is going to land, but it's only going to hear starting all over. That's not going to be too much of an issue. Vainglory comes down and stuns up one, but Old School's already dead yet again. He steps up to the plate and just gets torn down from it. Starting all over, jumps on Gabe Vizzle. He had the smite stacks on him, so they perfectly split up for this one. Status is now just fighting in the 1v1, the 2v1 even, sorry. I don't want to forget Chicken's there at all. The smite's there, the healing is not enough for Joseph to survive. Hammers find the ace now, and they're just going to go for the Kraken.
Chicken sets him up, Status knocks him down. Every bit of crowd control landed onto Old School on that fight. Githian wall into the Impale, into the Valkyrie. They got every single thing to land, and it all came together for them like dominoes falling. Hollywood Hammers are taking complete control of this game. Almost a 10k gold lead. Things have spiraled out of control for Cloud9. Now they have Old School with that breaking point. He's hit that opportunity for him to stack up as well. The fact that he had to go for the Sorrow Blade earlier just to have the initial damage, it slowed down his build kind of coming online. He had to build up some defenses as well. Whereas starting all over, he's now picked up himself up a Poison Chiv. So who needs efficiency when it comes to lifesteal? He just wants to make it so that Joseph and Old School will not survive. And another room!
Chicken, hello. Barrel roll over the wall, gets the impale and starting all over. Does manage to secure the kill onto Old School yet again. And now they're just going to focus down Joseph. He's going to end up falling, and that'll be Gabe Vizzle just accepting his fate. Hammers find the ace after the miracle impale from Chicken. A chicken and a Norse god and a prince walk into the bar. Turns out they can just blow away the cloud that is Cloud9. The turrets are going to fall. The Vein Crystal is going to shatter. And that'll be Hammers facing off against Rogue in the grand finals.
And you can say that Hollywood Hammers had, a broken draft. They had the Black Feather, they had the Rhyme, but still they executed on it perfectly. There were moments and opportunities for Cloud9 to come back in this game, but time after time, they found Old School, shut him down 0-8-3. That is not Old School's normal scoreline. We would not expect that of him regularly, but Hollywood Hammers showed up.
Tables have been tipped, and Hammers are now